The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'm proud to rise and stand in the well of the House of Representatives. And Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of those who have called for civility. I compliment them for calling for civility. I think civility is appropriate at all times, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I do have to ask, where were you? Where were you when the President of the United States of America stood before law enforcement officers and said, you don't have to be so nice when you have a person within your care, custody, and control? Paraphrasing him, of course. Where were you? Where was your compassion for the many people who have been victims of brutality at the hands of the constabulary? Where's your compassion for all of the people who understand that that was a message, whether intended or not, that was a message to the constabulary, to the police, that you can abuse people who are in your care, custody, and control? Where were you? Why didn't you speak out? Where was your sense of outrage as it relates to the President of the United States of America encouraging persons to assault people who were within the care, custody, and control of the police? Encouraging people to do something unconstitutional? It would have been and is still unconstitutional to assault people who are in your care, custody, and control if you're a peace officer. So where were you? Where were you when the President said there were some nice people among those at Charlottesville, among those who happened to be of the KKK, the neo-Nazis, those who were espousing harm to people? As you know, someone lost her life there in Charlottesville. Where were you? Why didn't you come out strongly against the President of the United States of America? Where were you? And then, my dear brothers and sisters, my friends across the aisle, why is it that you can find reason to condemn others and propose a resolution, but you propose not one single resolution for the President, who has consistently and persistently created levels of incivility that have emanated to the extent that some people may have been harmed already? Where were you? Why is it such that you can be outraged now, but you couldn't be outraged then? Where are you now as he is putting his bigotry into policy? Where are you? Why won't you stand up to this President? Are you aiding and abetting? Are you a part of the President's support system to implement the bigotry that he's putting into policy? And it is being done. When the President met with those persons at the White House talking about immigration and then called certain countries in Africa S-hole countries. And now, ironically, he wants to do away with the diversity visas, which happen to impact people who may be in Africa. Where were you? Why won't you stand up? Why would you want to implement this level of bigotry into policy? I commend you, and I'm proud of you for wanting civility. I stand for civility too. But I also know this: those who make peaceful protest impossible make other forms of protest inevitable. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. Members